Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet, and today I am interviewing Albert Fisk, a Swedish artist who does this cute, creepy thing that I really like. Totally dig his stuff, so thought I'd ask him to come on the show and hear what life is like being an artist in Sweden and other things. Yeah, so that's coming up. What's going on with me? Same old, working on paintings for my solo show. And I'm finishing the studies today, and I'm going to start the paintings tomorrow, which is insane because gives me less than 3 months. So it's crazy. It's going to be so much worse than I thought it was going to be. 3 months. I've painted shows in 3 months before, and this is going to be just under 3 months. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll manage. Like my wife says, you always pull it off. So that's been it. That and dealing with the heat. This heat is awful. So in LA right now. So if you want to support the podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/darkartsociety. Join for as little as $1. And if you join at the $5 and above level, you get a 20% discount. I've got these flowers stuck in here. 20% discount code at our sponsor, Skull Shop, SKULLSHOPPE.com. They make amazing skulls. I use them for all my paintings. In fact, there's about 7 paintings I'm doing for the show, and they all use Skull Shop skulls for my reference. Anyway, yeah. Also, you get your name read on the air or on the pod. And so let me do that real quick for new subscribers. Let's see here. Okay, we've got, let me see, Brittany Wadsworth. I think I got last time, but if I didn't, I have to put these glasses on. Alec Fredericks, thank you. The Occult Examiner. She has a great YouTube channel if you're into occult stuff. So check her out. Thank you, Occult Examiner. And that's it. So, again, if you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. That's how I'm able to afford to do this, barely. So if you can support for just $1 a month, that would be really great. Anyway, what else? Oh, if you want to see what I'm working on, if you want to see all my stuff from my solo show, get deals before I release them publicly, discounts, there's all kinds of benefits, but you can join my Patreon, my personal Patreon, which is patreon.com/ChetZar. And you can also join there for as little as $1 a month. And I'm always posting everything I'm working on pretty much every day. Time lapses, all that stuff. Is there anything else I need to talk about? I don't think so. I had a little piece of paper that had everything I was supposed to say, and I lost it. So, okay, I think that's it. Let's get on with it. My interview with Albert Fisk. Hope you enjoy it. Albert, we are recording.
Hello, Chet. How you doing?
Good. How you doing out in hot Sweden?
Yeah, it's sweaty as hell. And my room in the apartment, for some reason, it's like a furnace in here. All the other rooms are quite cold, but I don't know what it is.
So you maybe it's because it's where all the action's happening is in your studio, so it generates heat.
Maybe computer, studio lights, other things going on.
Devil stuff. Pentagrams on the wall. It's all generating skulls.
It's the devil's fault. Some get used to going to hell later on. Okay.
That's right. You're getting acclimated. So you guys, you don't have a lot of people don't have. Do you have air conditioners over there? Dude, is it like Europe where like in the UK, nobody has air conditioners so that when it gets really hot, everyone's totally miserable?
Yeah, I mean, some people buy those loose ACs that you put like a big tube out the window, but it's not a common thing here because the summers are so short. It's like 3 or 4 months tops where it's super warm. So just a normal fan or like an air cooler is usually what you get. But AC is rare.
You got to have one in California. Let me tell you, otherwise you're just going to be miserable.
I bet
most of the time. Anyway, thanks for coming on the show. I love your stuff. It's really I dig your monsters and your technique, painting technique, and drawing technique, and all that stuff. So, I don't know where I'm sure I came across your work on Instagram. I've noticed you in the chats on the YouTube premieres of the Dark Art Society, and I don't know. I just got was seeing your name around, and I like your work, so I was like, we should do it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a big surprise, and on my birthday as well. When you when you asked me about the podcast, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!
Oh, that's cool.
Great birthday gift!
Happy birthday!"
Yeah.
So, okay. So first off, tell me about your name. Because Albert Fisk is your artist name, and your real name is
that's correct.
Roberto, and I'm not sure I know your last name.
The last Roberto Kontasic. So, I'm half Croatian, so it's a Croatian name.
Really?
From my dad's side.
Oh, no way! Because that's where I grew up in San Pedro, a place called San Pedro, south of Los Angeles, and it's huge Croatian community. And my stepdad, Czar.
Really?
Yeah, Czar apparently, I mean, I got last name Czar is from my stepdad. And he's Croatian. His family's Croatian. Yeah, it's huge.
I didn't know that.
Huge Croatian community in San Pedro. It's like all the kids I went to school with, the last name was Vidovic and Vilicic and
something itch on the end of the name. So that's cool.
Yeah. So what's the story on your name, your artist name?
Well, when I think it was about 15 or 16, I had a friend in high school, and we were the outcasts in the class, and we liked horror movies and all that kind of stuff. And he had this big book with serial killers from all over the world.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. So I saw a guy called Albert Fisk in there, which is a famous, very horrible serial killer from the States.
Yeah.
And I immediately was interested in him because he had like everything. He was so sick in the head that it was just interesting to me, like the psychological part of it. Like, how can a person be like this?
Yeah, he used to stick
not see that it's wrong. It's just
he had like God would talk. He said God was talking to him, right? I think, and he would
and he put like needles into his groin and just let them be there.
Oh, I know, it's terrible.
He had like 25 needles in there. It's just on a daily basis. And then he ate kids, and it was just
he's the guy that was stuffing guts in his toilet, and it clogged his toilet. I think that's him, and he was trying to flush him down the toilet, or they found him kind of like
could be
stuffed in the toilet. It's just so repulsive, crazy, just insane.
Like recipes for buttock stew.
Crazy,
so he wrote like recipes and all that.
Amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, I
can see why you want to name. I can see why you want to name yourself after him.
I was like, I can relate to this guy. I like stew.
I like buttock stew. I like stew and I like buttocks.
It's perfect. No, but I took that name as a gamer tag because I used to play a lot of video games and I played a lot of Quake back then. So I started using that, and then eventually I just changed the last name Fish to the Swedish word for fish. which is Fisk.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
just made it my own. And then, I don't know, I like Albert because it's similar to Roberto for some reason. I think
Yeah, it's got the Bert
some
in it.
people have called me Albert without knowing that I have the Albert Fisk name.
Hmm. Wow.
It's like a second name for some reason.
Huh. Okay.
And then I just stuck with it, and now it's my artist name. I had it for years. It was like since I was 16.
Wow. Yeah, it's catchy. It really, like, I don't know, there's something, it sounds good. I don't know. It sticks in your mind for some reason. Like like I said,
yeah, it's easier than
yeah, definitely.
than my real name is. It's a tongue twister.
So, so much I want to ask you. I'm so interested in Sweden too, as far as like
Yeah, go ahead.
dark art in Sweden.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
but first let's do the your kind of artistic history. Like, talk about how you got into art, and you were, sounds like you're an art kid kind of, and horror movie kid, and tell me about that.
Yeah, I was always interested in this not mainstream stuff. And like I was always bullied in school and not one of the cool kids. But I always was interested in art and movies and music, like all the creative areas. And then the rest of the school stuff was like, no, it's not interesting to me. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time in school. I skipped class as often as I could and just did other stuff that was more creative.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I mentioned, I got more into video games. So that was like my main interest for a very long time.
Mm.
But I always had the art stuff in the back of the head, and I read comics and tried to draw like comic books, but I never liked anatomy, so it didn't really work. I was just frustrated with anatomy. But I think the earliest memory I have for when I got interested in art, I must have been 9, perhaps. Because I saw this Salvador Dali poster. I don't know where I was. It was at somebody's house. And it's the one with the elephant that has really long legs. And then there's a guy in front of it with a cross. It's like trying to repel the elephants, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it was just, I couldn't stop looking at it. It was just, how is this possible?
Yeah.
I didn't understand how I could paint like that. And then I knew, like, oh yeah, I wanna do that as well. So,
okay, cool. Yeah,
I think I just tried like every now and then to draw it, but I didn't really get into it until much later.
Okay. What age was that?
Well, in high school, after high school here in Sweden, we have something called gymnasium, or it's not college; it's like grade 10 to 12.
Okay, yeah, like high school. That would be high school.
Oh, is that high school? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 10 to 12. What is before high school?
Junior high school, which is like 7th
to
9th or 6th to 9th or something.
Right. So the Albert Fisk name came in junior high school.
Okay.
And then in high school, I got more into to the art stuff and had a really good art teacher. And we had a basic art class there. And she allowed me to skip other classes to be in her class whenever I wanted. So
that's cool.
She gave me her own, like my own table area in the corner. It's like, oh, you can be here whenever you want.
So
do whatever you want.
That must have been because you were like, you showed talent in that area.
Yeah, I was really interested in it back then.
So
like, that's more when I started.
Yeah,
like, really.
More than most of your other student friends.
Yeah, there were a few that were also interested, but not as much as I was, I think. Because I never had to do the assignments or anything.
Wow.
I could just do my own thing in the corner.
That's amazing.
Which I really liked.
Yeah, what a great teacher.
Yeah.
I hope.
Then I kept drawing and Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was going to say, I hope you contacted that teacher now that you're a professional. You should contact that teacher.
I'm not sure if she's still alive because she was pretty old
Oh, okay.
when I went to school. But I did return like years later and just thanked her.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I meant.
For
That's
being
cool.
like the best teacher I've ever had.
That's awesome.
Even though she just let me do my own thing, but I think that was the good part of her. Like she gave me the materials and gave me some tips every now and then when I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me like books and you should check this book and so on.
Well, that's a good teacher. I probably can see when it's going to benefit. Like, students are kids are all different, so a good teacher is going to recognize that. Oh, this is the best thing for this student. Yeah. So that's cool.
But I did pretty good in high school as well. In general, like junior high school, I had really really bad grades. But then in high school, you could pick like what you wanted to do, like a course, and I picked electronics with computers, which I was really interested in as well. So I did pretty good all in all.
That's cool.
Yeah, and after that, I started working as soon as I left school because I didn't go to college. I was really tired of just the whole studying school things. So I started working as a crane operator in a steel factory, which was really random. But
totally,
the area I lived in, they had a really big steel factory. So everybody that lived there pretty much worked in this factory. So
right.
Easy to get a job there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how long did you do that for?
I think a year.
It seems like it'd be kind of fun. Controlling a crane.
It was fun in the beginning, but then it's very repetitive to drive a crane.
Yeah.
And you work 7 days and then you're free for 5 days and then you work 7 days.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's like night shifts, day shifts, and you jump around. So it was good pay, and I was living at home, so I had a lot of money back then. I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember those days.
Yeah.
So,
so I did that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, you can keep going. I think we're on you're on a slight delay, so if I interrupt you, it's mostly not me being rude.
No, it's fine.
Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I did that for a year or two and played a lot of Quake, like video games at home, and also drew a little bit. I wasn't painting anything yet because I hadn't touched any kind of paints, not even watercolors. So it was just graphite or ink. Still not really knowing what I was doing. It was just trying stuff out.
What year is this about?
I was 2000. I don't know. I have to check a calculator.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is it like in the 90s or 2000s, early 2000s or late 90s?
I think it was early 2000.
Okay. That's when I started painting. 2000 is when I was like, I'm going to make the decision, get out of effects and start painting. It was 2000, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's when I discovered Tool for the first time.
Oh, wow.
2000.
Okay.
99 or 2000. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I was working with them mostly in, I think it was 90. I don't know. When did that album come out? That Anima or that album with Stinkfist on it. I think it's like
the year.
mid to late 90s. That's when I started working with them.
Yeah. Because I discovered the Lateralis album.
Oh, okay.
That was my first CD I bought from them.
Okay.
Yeah, and around this time as well, I discovered body mods, tattoos, piercings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first time I found my group of people, because there were none in my school or in my area that was interested in that. So I started talking with people online, started getting piercings, And then I discovered suspension.
Oh, no way. You've done have you done that?
Yeah, twice.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I had somebody on that did that for other people, and he kept trying to convince me to do it, and I'm just like, no. I appreciate that it's cool, that you enjoyed it, that it's like, it gives you the endorphin rush, and there's like a spiritual component and all that, but I just not interested. There's so many things I'm interested in that I don't have time to do. And that one is, I'm just not interested in doing it, really. It's like, but I can apprate it.
Then it's not for you. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
It's only, you should only do it, something like that, if you are interested in it. You shouldn't be forced. You shouldn't be forced.
No,
that would not be good.
Getting hooks in your back.
That's crazy, though. So, because I used to have, I had a septum piercing in the 90s. Early 90s. And, they put the needle through my septum, and, it like hurt. And I kind of like, my wife said I turned all white. And so I just can imagine. So I understand it's like, it wasn't like the craziest pain I ever felt, but it was painful. But I can't imagine getting hooks through your back. I mean, is it the same way? It's like it doesn't hurt as bad as you'd think, or is it like really it is painful and it starts to bring those endorphins? So it's like getting the initial needle through is like very painful.
Yeah, the first one is like, but you're so like jacked up on adrenaline before, even before the first needle, because you're nervous.
Yeah, right.
But as soon as the first one goes in, because it goes really quick as well, so you don't really have time to react that much.
So they just.
But as soon as the first one is in, then the other ones, you're not feeling them really.
Okay, interesting.
You're just like already flying in your head, basically.
Right. And then what about the lifting and hanging? Is that like, does the pain kick in again, or is it just like you're just getting hit with dopamine and stuff?
Yeah. As soon as you lift up from the ground, you don't feel anything anymore.
Really?
Because the skin gets detached from the fats. So it stretches out a lot. There's something called binding tissue that keeps the skin in place, but that it gets like not ripped apart. Well, yeah, I guess it gets ripped apart, but slowly.
Wow.
And then your back skin is like this long, and you're just flying.
Wow.
The second time I did it was in a crane, like 7 meters up, and I hoisted myself up because I wanted to have like an extra experience.
Wow. It's like it's like tripping. It's like a drug thing in a way, because it's just like you're not using drugs, but it seems to me that the whole experience is this euphoria, this like transcendental feeling, and that's probably from all these chemicals rushing into your brain because your body's kind of freaking out, and so it seems like a kind of like a psychedelic trip in a way.
Yeah. And the time goes by super fast.
Really?
I think I was hanging an hour.
Oh my God.
And it felt like 5 minutes.
Wow. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Damn. Okay. So anyway,
that's
you found your people.
Big part of my like younger 20s.
Okay.
Suspensions and piercings and all that. I don't have any piercings left now, but I had a lot, like big,
okay.
What do you call earlobes and whatnot.
Yeah, my dog. I had a dog that I had this piercing, the septum piercing, for a long time, and then my dog, a pit bull, who was just being playful, and like I was playing with it, and it kind of like was snapping in a friendly way, not mean at all.
Yeah,
and it's tooth hooked on it, and it went, and it like kind of didn't rip it out. It kind of partially ripped it out, but it like it was this shape. You know what I mean? It was started off like a ring, and then it turned like that. So it kind of stretched it out, and then kind of ripped it partially out. And I was just like, I don't want to. I'm just gonna leave it out.
Maybe that makes you take piercings out, because that happened to me, but with a nipple piercing. I almost got the nipple ripped off, and then I was like, I'm taking these out now. That was way too painful. Not worth it at all.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so anyway,
yeah, so that was like in the same era when I turned 20. I moved to Stockholm, where I live now, which is the capital. Because I used to live it was a smaller city, and I always felt like I didn't fit in there. I need to go to a bigger place where people are tattooed and there's more job opportunities. Because I wanted to work with piercings, like I wanted to be a piercer. And that quickly changed when I got here, because it was very difficult to get into that industry.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Yeah, at least for me. There were no educations.
Okay.
And you have to get like a internship.
Yeah, you probably have to know somebody that is a professional that can mentor you or do an apprenticeship or something.
Yeah, apprenticeship. That was what I was thinking about. Yeah, but I didn't know that many people here that did that.
Okay.
I was trying to like network a little bit, but I just took odd jobs wherever I could get them, so I could pay rent, because I moved in with a friend's brother who had a spare room in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then between like 20 and 30, it was just partying pretty much, because I started hanging out with a lot of party people, and I met a girl up here, and that's why I moved, basically. Or it was like, I have a reason to move there now. So that part of those years pretty dark, I think. Was a lot of partying and drugs and alcohol, and it got to the point where like, okay, this is a problem.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and I tried to get help from. So I told my mom, and she's like, she didn't really care, and tried to ask some friends, but they were also already in this like group of people, so they didn't really care either. And I was doing art on and off in this period, but nothing like serious, just every now and then.
Yeah.
And then still playing a lot of video games. I was just trying to escape reality, I think, mostly. And it just gets worse and worse, like the longer.
Why were you trying to escape reality? Just because you, I don't know, were kind of aimless in life or something, or
my upbringing wasn't that good.
Oh, really? Because
I had
people like, I don't know, people like me. I think we have this vision of Sweden as like this kind of utopia, and like everyone's cool, and it's not all uptight, and it's not like super right wing, but apparently it's just like everywhere else in the world, I imagine, to where it's like,
there's big problems here too.
Yeah. Just a dumb American.
No, but it
American
was like
take.
Mainly. No, but it's not easy to know like how it is in other countries. You always have like an idea of what you think it is, and then
right.
Oh, it's very similar to where I am.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's
so childhood was rough.
It always depends on what you compare it with, but like my dad died when I was 2.
Oh.
Then I had a stepdad, but he was religious in Jehovah's Witness, so I grew up in that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Until I was 7, so that was confusing as well.
Yeah. And
then my mom, she was drinking a lot, and I started drinking pretty early. I was 14, I think.
Oh shit!
Smoking and drinking. So that was always a problem. Like I was very depressed when I was younger, and that's also a reason why I wanted to move, because I never felt that I fitted in with my family. It's always like the black sheep, or it was a weird situation.
Do you have brothers or sisters?
Yeah, 3 sisters and 2 brothers.
Oh wow, big family.
But it's like I have 2. 1, 2, 3 of them are half siblings. So.
Okay, still a big family.
Yeah, but never fit in for some reason.
You were the weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was a normal one in my head.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Black sheep is a better term.
Yeah. So that like followed me, because you can't really run from your problems. So that followed me to where I moved. And I was always interested in psychedelics or other kinds of party drugs. So it was super easy to get your hands on it here in the big city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that escalated, and then eventually I decided like I have to take care of this myself. And luckily I met like another girl. Like the first one I moved up here for, it was for 7 years, and then it ended. Then I met another one which didn't do any stuff like that. It was much more down to earth and relaxed. So I saw I had like an opportunity. Like, okay, I could either go keep doing what I'm doing, and then it's gonna end really bad probably, or I can go this way and just like cut all bonds on the other side. So I did that, and I was sober for 5 years.
Wow.
I stopped drinking, stopped doing drugs. I still smoked cigarettes for a while, but yeah.
So
and then I focused more on the art stuff.
Okay, so you just quit? You did it yourself? You didn't go on a program or anything?
Yeah.
Or? Oh wow. Okay. Good for you. That's cool.
I had to cut like all my friendship bonds because.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, most of them. There was like a very small number of people that stayed left because they also shaped up or wasn't really in that whole scene that I was in.
Right. Yeah, that's rough though. Giving up your whole peer group.
Yeah, and at the same time, like when I decided to take care of it myself, I also cut all bonds with my family.
Oh wow, damn! So you were alone.
Because I realized like that's actually the issue. Because it's a very long story what happened and all that, and it's just I need to step away from it because it just keeps reminding me and following me and just making me depressed and wanting to go back to the destructive life.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing to do, to cut the bonds with your family, but
sure.
it was the right thing. So, and I never liked anything that had with family to do, like celebrating Christmas or birthdays or nothing like that. With reason, because of the upbringing. Right. But then the girl I met, her family, they were like amazing. So they invited me for Christmas, and I was really not sure about it at first. Like I was feeling really out of place. But then, you're not drinking on Christmas? You're not drunk? What?
Right.
That's weird. So they got me, and now I love Christmas. So they turned me around and showed me what's like a real family could be like.
Ah, how cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm really grateful for them. And I'm still in contact with them, even though we broke up after 5 years.
Oh, that's cool. So you still stay. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, they became more like a family to me than my biological family.
Yeah. Wow.
And then, then I started, I think 2018 is when I started painting with acrylics.
Wow, really? That's
yeah. Because I was drawing a lot and doing watercolors up until then. Because I started streaming art on Twitch. So I got into that a lot. Doing that for a few years. Yeah. But then I discovered, I had discovered acrylics, but I never really got into it or decided I'm going to learn it. I have tried it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of videos from Greg Crayola.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Greg Crayola Simkins.
I need to get him on the podcast because I know him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I just have never asked him. And he's a super nice guy, too. I bet he would do it. He's always been, every time I've met with him, he's been super cool.
Yeah, I've seen him in other podcasts. So
yeah, I got to hit him up. Most of the people the people I don't hit up, it's just because my art career is my focus and the podcast is kind of secondary. And so I'm just like flying by the seat of my pants always, like, oh, I know this person. I'm going to hit him up. And then, it's just like, then it's just a kind of a going on high speed all the time. So I'm not very organized about it, but I will hit him up.
Yeah. Ooh, cool.
If you hear this,
but a funny thing, Greg, he mentioned,
hit me up. I'll be in touch.
Yeah. That's awesome. It was before, I think 2016 or 15. I saw an interview with Greg Simpkins, and he seems to be, he likes to joke around in his interviews.
Okay.
But I'm really bad at picking up sarcasm. And they asked him a question like, how do you blend your paint so nice? It looks like oils. And he said, well, I use dirty paint water, as a joke. Like, of course I don't. But I thought he meant for real. So he used dirty paint water to mix his whites and all that. And I went to try it. I was so angry that it didn't work because everything just got muddy and just looked like brown paint.
I never
understood it.
It makes me wonder though if maybe he wasn't being sarcastic though, because I've heard I didn't hear that he uses dirty paint water, but I heard that he doesn't use any mediums in his acrylics. Like a lot of acrylic artists use matte medium or gel medium or gloss medium just to like get transparent layers, or, just to get different effects. And I heard that he only uses water and acrylic. That's it. So maybe
he uses matte medium and slow drying medium.
Oh, he does. Okay. Because this years ago, I heard that someone told me that he didn't use any mediums, but he is using mediums.
I think mostly it's just water. He thins down the paint with water. But
yeah. Well,
he uses a few mediums. Yeah.
I'll find out when I have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but yeah, I think that's funny. I always think back to that, and it's like I was so frustrated that I never tried more with acrylics. I just gave up. So now it doesn't work.
You didn't try just clean water?
Yeah, I was doing that as well, but I was trying to get the look he had.
I see.
Smooth and nice.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing what he does with acrylic paints.
Yeah. Now I know how he does it. It's more layers and layers.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize them.
This is why I love oils. Is because blending is the hard part of oils is not blending too much because it's so easy to blend.
Yeah.
Whereas it's more like with acrylic, the hard part is getting that smooth blend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think once you get used to it, it's pretty easy because I never do wet blends.
Right. Yeah. No,
I always do layers.
I started in acrylics, so I know it's I know how to paint in acrylics, and it is, the drying thing is amazing,
Yeah.
And you look at a guy like Crayola, it's like, it looks, you can't tell the difference really when it. I didn't, I would assume your stuff is oil if I didn't think about it. It doesn't look like acrylic to me. Same. Todd Shore is another guy who just does. Todd Shore? SCHORR. Oh man, you'll love it. And he's all acrylic, and his stuff is just like, I've seen his stuff in person, and it's just like, I would think it was oil, just the way he paints. It's just so amazing.
Wait, Todd?
SCHORR. I'd like to get him on the podcast too, but he's kind of like
Oh yeah, I know who this guy is.
Big time.
Yeah, his stuff is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All acrylic.
Holy shit. I know, it's insane. Those, like, same with Crayola. When you look at the paint, it's like you kind of know how to do it, but at the same time you have no idea.
Right.
Because it's so crazy good.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So you started. When did you figure it out? Acrylic, like how to do
2018.
it. Okay.
For some reason, yeah, because then I was like, I had watched so many of Crayola's videos and other people using acrylics, and I've tried always a little bit, but I didn't really get the feel for it.
Right.
And I had been painting more with watercolor up to this point, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this again for real this time.
I think watercolor is a lot harder than acrylic, personally.
It's super difficult.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I wanted more acrylics, because I couldn't do the things that I want to do in watercolors, because you can't control it that much. You need to let it do its own thing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just started painting a lot with acrylics, like smaller things. And then eventually I got the hang of it, and now I can't stop painting.
Yeah, it's addictive.
So it's my favorite medium. So that's straight.
Do you use any mediums or anything, or you just acrylic and water, or do you use matte medium or any of that?
I use matte medium.
Okay.
Mainly for prepping the surface.
How about like glazes?
But other than that, is
anything like that, or layers? You're just doing straight acrylic?
Yeah, but I thin it with water as well.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I have a few like glazing mediums, but I never found anyone that I like, because they get a little bit tacky when you apply them.
Okay.
For some reason. So I prefer like a thin water wash instead. Or thin it out with matte medium works pretty well as well.
So nice to be able to just dry your layer with a hair dryer. Yeah,
that's the thing. When you paint with acrylics, you think it dries too slow eventually, because you get so used in painting fast.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to use the blow dryer all the time, because it's not dry enough.
It's amazing. I mean, it's such control to be able to just be like, but anyway, that's like a whole other discussion. So, okay, but so when you started painting, you're doing like these weird little creatures, and how did you fall on that? How did you figure out like what you're painting? What to paint?
Well, when I started painting, I was still working like full time, and not full time, but part time in a clothing store. I was in 10 years. So I was just doing this on my spare time. But then I took a year off from work. You can do that here in Sweden. Like, I want to go study something. Then
that's what I'm saying.
You can take a year off and then come back.
The utopia part. There we go. That's what
those things are pretty nice.
Yeah, that's what you get for all those taxes. It's like that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. So I took a year off there from work and went to a community college for one like basic art year. Because I just didn't want to work, and I wanted to focus more on art and see if I could take it somewhere. Just kept painting weird things that I was inspired, like Beksinski. Inspired me a lot. Giger, Salvador Dali. It's a guy called Christopher Lovell. He makes really amazing,
I know,
like mixed media pieces. Yeah, you probably know who he is.
I may have had him on the podcast
really good
years ago, maybe. I've had so many people. I'm going to look real quick, but I've had so many people on the podcast that I can't remember. Seriously,
like how many episodes is it now? Like 300?
This will be 325 or something. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, yeah. It's not easy to keep track on all of that.
Oh, I haven't had him on. But I've wanted to ask him to come on. He's on my list because this stuff's great.
Yeah. And he has really informative videos as well. And I think that's where I learned the most from, like YouTube, not the art year I took in community college
Right.
or any other art things I tried to study. It's YouTube mostly.
Yeah,
and then just, okay, I see how they do it, and I try it until I understand the process.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you must be kind of like a self-starter, someone that like can learn on their own, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like that too.
I don't like to read,
Yeah.
for example. So I'm a visual learner. I need to see
Right.
how it's done instead of trying to read, and because I just get bored about text because I have a bit of dyslexia, so it's always a challenge to read like large formative texts.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, I've met so many people doing this podcast that, like, you know, there are some people that really do well in that academic environment. You know, it's like they want to be taught like by an instructor, which is good because that's how most people learn. But I've always been more like, you know, well, I really, I learned from like books and videos, because there wasn't that, YouTube wasn't even a thing when I started painting, not like it is now. So I'd get DVDs, I'd buy DVDs, like there was a Sean Barber oil painting DVD and a couple others, and just any books, any resources I could find. But I'm so much more comfortable learning like that myself.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have to, you have to be to do that, to learn that way. You know, you have to be comfortable being alone and figuring it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't mind if like somebody, like I mentioned, like show me how to do it, and then you try it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
In your own studio. Yeah. So, but also during this year, I was streaming on Twitch a lot, doing art and streaming. And then I started selling a few pieces here and there, very sporadically through the stream, mainly, and Etsy. And then I was like, oh, maybe this could be a little thing, like an extra thing with my part-time job. And then I decided to do, because I still didn't have a style or like I couldn't paint what I wanted to paint, so to speak.
What do you mean?
So I decided to do, I had images in my head and ideas, but I couldn't get it out on paper.
So you weren't like skilled enough yet to realize your visions in your head?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I decided to do like a challenge, do one sketch per day for a year. No matter what it was, just it could be something simple, a stick figure or whatever, just to keep like the artistic thing going every day, because otherwise I will just go back to video games for a week and not do any art at all. And that worked really well, actually. So after I think I did 9 months, 7 or 9 months, somewhere around there. Wait, what year are we in now? 2018, so 2020 maybe? No. Yeah, 2020. So, time. It's not easy to keep track of.
I know, believe me.
And I don't know exactly when stuff happened, but from 2018 up until now, it's just been going up. And I've been focusing more and more. And then when I was 36, I was working in a warehouse, and I got like a midlife crisis. I was like depressed over that I never did anything with my 20s.
Yeah.
Like anything productive or creative. And I really felt like working in that warehouse was actually pretty good at, like, in the end, because it really made me realize that I want to do something creative.
Right.
Because every job I had, the small area you can find that is creative within that job, it's where I focus the most. Like when I worked in the clothing store, I liked to educate new employees because that was a bit creative, because I had to teach them in a creative way. So. But then in the warehouse, I got the opportunity to go to game art school, which was a private school. So it was a bit expensive, but you can take student loans here pretty easily. So I did that for 2 years. And I haven't, up until this point, I haven't done much digital stuff, just a little bit here and there. So I knew my way around Photoshop, for example, but I didn't know any 3D stuff or anything like that. But during these 2 years, you learned a bunch of stuff for the first year, and then most of the second year was an internship at a game studio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, and that you learn a lot more during the internship, of course.
Yeah.
But, and right after that, I asked a friend, or he wasn't a friend then, but he was an artist that I followed on Instagram. El Huebro is his name, or Niklas Åkerblad, Swedish painter and musician. And he was working on a video game for a few years, and I've been following the progress. So when it was time to get a job, I asked, like, hey, do you need any people? And he was about, like, the same day or the day after I asked, he was about to go out and ask around for like a new person to join the team. So he's like, yeah, I know you. We talked about art on Instagram. I've seen your stuff. So yeah, you should join us. It was a really small indie studio. But yeah, a great team. So I got a job there as a cleanup and color artist / animator assistant.
Okay. What does that entail?
And I've never done. It was a 2D game.
Okay.
Like a side scroller Metroidvania game. And so I got line art because every animation was frame by frame. So I got the line art, and then I had to fill in all the colors, all the details, the shading. So that was my first job. And then within these years working there, I got more and more responsibility, learned more, got to animate on my own, rigging, and yeah, just learned a ton of stuff there.
So what are you doing? What's your current job there?
Well, the game was released early this year.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I only worked 2 years on the production there. And then I got a new job at a casino game company.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm a game artist in a casino game company, which is very different, but it's still 2D art, which I prefer. I don't like doing 3D models.
Right.
Stuff, even though I can do it, but I think it's not as creative as doing 2D art. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing now full time, and then I'm doing my own art on my spare time.
So this is a different game company?
Yeah, it's big, one of the biggest casino game companies here in Sweden.
Okay, that's cool. So you just bounce around, and you're kind of like a freelancer, sort of.
Yeah, on the previous game, which is called Ultros, that was a freelance contract, but like each year you had a full year contract as a freelancer.
Okay.
So that was more like a passion project.
Right.
And now I'm at it's like a big office, 130 people.
Oh, wow.
So the pay is like double what I had before. So it's
great.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so then you've got you're doing that in the day, and then you've got your art career after hours, and you just continue.
Yeah, and on weekends.
Yep.
And I think this year everything kicked up a notch because in the beginning of the year I decided, I want to paint more this year. Because last year it was because I was new at the new company. It was very stressful. I'm not really good with new things. I like to stick to the same job or place, or so.
Right.
Switching work area is usually very stressful.
Yeah.
So I didn't have as much energy to paint at home. So I decided this year is the year. And it's been really good. First exhibition at Wow X Wow happened this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they're cool.
And then, I like that.
Yeah.
And I did a personal record in sales in the beginning of the year. So, and it's just, I'm loving art more and more.
Yeah.
And just acrylic painting and trying bigger things. And I'm seeing also the progression in skill pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I did that for 7 years. So,
yeah,
it's like sometimes it takes you just got to be willing to do whatever. And I didn't, I did the, day job and then nights and weekends for 7 years. And, man, I had a show in Europe during that time, like I would get some time. They'd let me take time off, of occasionally because they liked me at that job. And so, you can do it. It's just like, you just have to be completely focused on your whole life is work, and it's just like, it's what you got to do. And then when I left the industry, I got laid off and I just didn't, I just continued. I just was like, okay, I could look for another, because, essentially it's the same thing in effects, freelance. You're kind of a freelancer. And I was I was a staff guy at the last job I was at, but they still laid me off after 5 years. And I was just like, well, I can get another job or I can try this. And I had been, I had 7 years of building a career and I'd had solo shows and all this. And, but I still wasn't making enough to where as much as I was making in effects, but I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do it now because I don't know that
just jump in the deep end.
Yeah. It was like they did me a favor by laying me off because I don't know that I would have, maybe I would have quit, but if I did, it would have it wouldn't have been then. That's for sure. It would have probably been another 5 more years or even longer. Cause it was just, it was like a sink or swim moment. I don't know that I would have the courage to do it on my own, but, I just did it and I've been like going ever since. That's what it feels like just hustling ever since 2000.
Yeah, it's hard to get rid of that security and stability of an income, I assume.
Yeah, it is. And especially, in America, because at least in Sweden, I think you probably have more of a social safety net, and here it's just like, they'll let you starve on the street if you don't have something going on, it's a lot. I think it's a lot scarier living here, and there's so many. Yeah. Anyway, that's another topic, but
but I know the situation over there. It seems scary.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's totally crazy. So I wanted to ask you, like, I've been, I'm always interested in the perception of, dark art. I consider your stuff dark art on like an end of the spectrum, closer to, there's such a wide, I always talk about this. If you've heard the podcast, we've got like Cannibal Corpse album covers over here, and Wes Van Scoter, who's great. I love his stuff, but it's very violent and super, super dark. And then, on the other end, you've got stuff like yours that's kind of cross the line between cute, there's a lot of artists, or not a lot, but there's enough artists doing it to where it's like a thing. But I still feel like it falls in the dark art category, even though there's crossover. There's pop surrealism and lowbrow, and there's all this crossover and stuff. But I still kind of consider anything really monsters and that kind of fantasy thing in the dark art realm. So, how is dark art in general accepted in Sweden?
There is like a small, not group, but there is dark art here, but it's not very big at all. there's been a few tries from people trying to like gather dark artists in certain groups and start something big, but it always like just dies out because there's not enough interest in it. I think
it's so weird. It trips me out. It's like that's what they say in like Europe too, you know, in the UK, and there's just it's like they don't have the. I know people in the UK that are dark artists that all their sales come from the United States.
Yeah, same here.
What is
or
up? What
other
is up
parts
with
in
that?
Europe, like Germany and Australia. That's not Europe, but I sell very little in Sweden.
Yeah, I sell stuff. You know,
it's like
no, I sell stuff to Sweden every once in a while, but not often.
Yeah,
it's mostly United States, and then Canada is the next one. But I'm just so curious why that is. It's just, it must be a cultural, it must be a cultural thing or something. I just don't know. It's like, why would America be so into it? And I'm just so curious. Someone needs to do a study about this and figure out what the deal is. Is it like is Sweden? It's not overly religious, is it?
No,
because I know that's a problem in
not at all.
Because Dos Diablos was telling me in Mexico, dark art is not popular at all, and it seems more like it's because it's so Catholic. You know, there's like it's a religious component, but that's the thing. It's like America's super religious too, so it's weird. But Sweden's
no, I don't think. And I mean, Sweden has a pretty dark history with the whole witch burning and stuff like that, and like in the capital, there's been like bloodbath stuff in history. So it has been dark here, but I don't know. Maybe we got too happy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe it's like your society is functioning well enough to where you don't need that catharsis as a culture, you know, because people are kind of taken care of, and you're not having like riots in the streets and stuff. Like you're not having, you know, all these
maybe
homeless people like we got, and just the crazy wealth inequality like we have. You know, it might have something to do with that. It's like we're more fucked up, so we like fucked up art more.
Yeah, and I mean, my life has been pretty chaotic, so maybe that's why I'm interested in the dark stuff.
Yeah, right.
I've always been, and I see a red thread with the interviews you do, because most people that like dark art has had some dark stuff happening in their life.
Yeah. It's like that's probably the most common theme. But I know we have had a few that really didn't, a handful that didn't really have any kind of trauma in their childhood, and they just like it, which is cool too. But it seems like if you're an artist, it's a really great coping mechanism for trauma, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just find that.
I mean, I also like it because it's different. I mean, I can enjoy nature paintings. I've also done nature paintings. It's very fun to paint, actually.
Yeah.
But I like the weird stuff in everything, like music, movies, art, books. The weirder, the better.
Yeah. That's something that, you know, I don't talk about that much, but weird is another common denominator, you know, because weird isn't necessarily dark. You know, weird can just be weird, but I think weird is even broader than dark, if that makes sense. You know, people like weird in, I don't know, like Monty Python. I'm dating myself, but that kind of like weird British humor is surrealist humor. I wouldn't call it dark, but it's definitely weird, although they have dark elements.
It's surreal, so I think that's the weird side, I guess.
What's that?
It's
surreal. Yeah, right. Yeah. So that seems to be the connection between weird or the bridge between weird and dark. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just, you know, it's like I come on the podcast and we just talk about these things, and it still feels like I'm trying to figure out what this is all about. This whole arts thing, what is at the root of it, and why do people like it, and why do people want to do it? I know that I like it and I like to do it, and I've got collectors who like it, and we're all nice people and cool, and for the most part, and you don't really need to think about it beyond that, but I'm so curious, it's so odd, and to me it's so strange. It's strange. I want to understand it, more. So I'm always kind of just like throwing stuff out there, new revelations when I have them, or thoughts about it, so, I don't know. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I've also thought about it. Like, why do I enjoy surrealists, pop surrealism, lowbrow? I think those are what I like the most. I think that's because I discovered Salvador Dali so early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I've always been drawn to that side. Yeah. But then I also really like gory stuff as well. So I like the mix of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I paint my own stuff, I see it as creepy, cute, and fleshy. Mm-hmm. That's like my three go-to.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they look fluffy and cute, doesn't always mean that they're nice or that they're like a friendly little creature.
Right. Yeah, cute and creepy is...
I like that mix.
Yeah. Cute. I was in a show curated by Carrie Ann Bada, who's been on the podcast twice, I think. She's an artist and an art professor, and she's awesome. Great painter, and really like she's great because she's like she's a legitimate academic at a university that champions dark art. So, these are the people that can like help legitimize us in a way, but she curated a traveling museum show called Cute and Creepy. And so,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I had stuff in there. So it was like, stuff, it was just cute and creepy. It wasn't all like each painting is cute and creepy. It's like cute stuff that's kind of creepy, and then dark stuff that's kind of dark, and, and it was really a popular show. From what she said, well attended. So there's, I don't know. I feel like I keep doing this podcast being like, hey, this whole art movement is awesome. Everybody needs to get into this, just trying to like promote it. Cause I just think there's something of value here, especially the more fucked up everything gets in the world. It just seems more and more valid every day. This kind of offbeat, weird. I mean, if nothing else, like your work, for example, if nothing else, weird stuff like this is like, can function as like a way of shaking people out of their trance in a way. Just like a whoa, kind of like, oh, take you out of your normal routine. You're not used to seeing this kind of stuff, So even on that level, I think it serves a purpose, Yeah,
for sure. And I always like the storytelling as well in dark art, because it seems that even maybe if not, it's even if it's not intentional by the painter or the artist, you can usually still see a lot of story in there, or make up your own story, because it's so visually interesting.
Right. Yeah,
and that's why I like it as well. Just a nature painting, it's nature, or a house. It's a house. There's not much to it.
Right.
In my opinion. I mean, you can come up with stories for that as well, of course, but like the painting behind you that you're working on now,
yeah.
you can instantly come up with a cool story for that.
Right. Yeah. I also feel like and this may just be because I'm particularly genetically oriented that way. Maybe, I don't know. But, when you think about like, I don't know, heroes and villains in stories and stuff, the villain side seems so much more interesting to me, like
every time.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. Like, there's more, like, if you're trying to think of like a character study, like, okay, I'm going to create these characters. One's going to be good, one's going to be bad. As a person, being good is like the utmost importance to me. Like, it's super important to me I just feel like that every human being should be that way. And it's very important to me. And I make an effort not to be an asshole to people. It's like my number one goal as like a citizen of the world or whatever. And, but when it comes to like, okay, I'm going to come up with these two characters. The good one is like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've got a weird warped sensibility, but it just seems like there's less material to work with. Whereas they're
just flat usually. The flat characters.
The bad guy is like, it seems like there's so much more. Or the example I always use is the Hieronymus Bosch Garden of Earthly Delights, the triptych. Do you know that one? The Hieronymus. You've seen it. It's out.
Garden of
Earthly Delights.
What was?
It's the one where it shows heaven or shows hell.
Ah, right, yeah.
And then it shows like, I don't know if it's a Garden of Eden. I mean, that painting is in your neck of the woods somewhere. It's like, isn't it in like Denmark or something? Yeah. Or you should see it. You should go see it. But anyway, the thing that no one talks about, the nice side. You don't see pictures of the nice side. You see pictures of the hell side because it's so much more creative and interesting.
Yeah.
There's just so much. It feels like so much more there. But, I don't know that that's intrinsically true or not. Like, I guess you'd have to ask a writer and see how they felt about heroes versus villains. But for some reason, it just seems like there's so much more raw material and creativity goes into coming up with a good villain or a good bad guy,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's because you already know how the good guy is going to be. He's going to be the hero. He's going to save everyone and he's going to save the world. A bad guy, he can be whatever. He can be super crazy.
Right.
The character has much more depth in it, and you don't really know what direction he's going to go throughout the story.
Right. Yeah, maybe
I think that's why it's so interesting.
That maybe it's something to do with chaos versus order, whereas like a good represents like more of an order. Maybe. I'm totally just talking shit off the top of my head.
Same, but sounds good.
but maybe the dark side would be less predictable and more chaotic, which would allow for more variation and more creativity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love talking about this stuff. I just find it interesting, but it's funny because I was
I like it.
What's that?
Yeah, I like that too, because if you look at movies there where you don't really see the bad guy, like The Mist, for example, there's monsters there, but you never see them. So your brain goes like haywire trying to figure out what it is. Right. You come up with your own ideas. And then the good guys in the shopping mall, they're not interesting at all.
Right.
You're just waiting for them to die by the monsters.
Yeah. You just want to see the monsters.
Yeah.
I mean, it might. I think it has something to do with it's weird. It's like, how does dark? Okay, apparently, clearly there is some kind of like dark thread that runs through culture in a good way. Like it's darkness is dealt with through. I don't know. In the past, maybe it was fairy tales and. There's some of those are pretty dark, and through horror movies, and even now it seems like through like serial killer podcasts. When I was younger, it was like serial killer documentary, serial killer books, and you're talking about how that's fascinating to you, and it is like, for me, it was this. I think the same way where you're like, how it just boggles the mind, and you want to understand how someone could do something like that. And you just can't believe it. So there's like you want to learn about it because you're like, this doesn't make sense to me that someone could even do something like that. And I think that's kind of what fuels a lot of these true crime podcasts and stuff, which seems to be like a more current version of that dark thread running through things in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't. I just wish some kind of academic would do some sort of study. Or maybe it's already out there, but I know there's a couple books on monsters and what they mean in popular culture and stuff, but I just feel like there's a thing running through all of humanity that has manifesting as dark art, horror movies, Stephen King, stuff like that. And it's some way of like catharsis or dealing with our own dark side in a healthy way, you know?
I mean, life can be pretty dark, and people, like humans in general, we're very destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole universe is pretty dark and destructive. So
yeah, it's weird.
Maybe some people feel more close to that, and it's like some sort of comfort. Because I like that side better for like relaxed. Horror movies can relax me, and
right? Yeah,
listening to metal can relax me instead of like the happy place.
Yeah,
it's more.
I feel comfort.
Shiny.
Yeah, I feel comfort in that stuff. Like when I see, like I was just looking at Mike Mignola, you know, the Hellboy comic artist, creator. I was just looking at some of his pictures just before we got on, and it was like, you know, I just love the way he draws, but it was like skulls, this awesome kind of spirits where it's like a skull with these kind of draped over, I don't know, fabric kind of, and it's just so creepy. And to me, it just makes me feel like, I think probably what a normal person would feel if they saw like a puppy or something.
Yeah,
like it makes me feel good. It's like, I think it makes me happy and feel good. It's weird, and it's just like sometimes I wonder if it's it's kind of a synesthesia type thing where it's like your wires in your brain are crossing, because I have that like weird synesthesia of I have synesthesia where words have flavors to me. It's totally
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, totally weird and stupid, but it is like a real thing, and you know, people hear colors and stuff like that. So I wonder if it's like related somehow, because it seems like just on the surface, if you're any normal person is going to see that and probably not feel good, but for people like us, you feel good when you see it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
like I don't like comedy movies very much because they very rarely make me laugh. They're just annoying. But then if I watch like Brain Dead, the movie, or The Blob, like you worked on it, and those kind of movies, that can make me laugh a lot.
Right.
Because I enjoy it so much, and then somebody gets exploded and it's like guts everywhere. For some reason, that feels more happy. And I don't know why.
Yeah. It's like I said, someone should study it. If they haven't already. I think it's worthy of study. So what's your what do you have? I don't know. What are your plans for your future art career? And are you going to, continue to work in the gaming industry and as the way to make the money to support you to do the art? Do you eventually want to go full time, or?
I mean, the dream scenario would be to just painting my own stuff as my job, but I'm also very stuck in the whole being comfortable and not having to hustle.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, man.
Yeah, because I know how it is, and I've heard a lot from the podcast as well, like different artists. Like, it's always a hustle.
It's hard work.
Yeah, but also working at a steady job, a regular job, and then also doing your art, it's also a lot of work.
I know.
So, I mean,
it's like that.
yeah.
You have to trade off this. You have to trade off a different kind of suffering.
Yeah.
Both roads are full of suffering, and you have to go. It's like they're almost equal. I feel like the hustle. I'm like a kind of workaholic when it comes to this stuff, though. So it's like I can kind of appreciate the hustle maybe more than the average person because I'm like, if I don't work, I get antsy and I feel like I need to be working. But
Yeah.
but it's still like, there's not having to worry about paying your bills every month is like a great, amazing luxury. Like that, having that stress off.
Yeah.
So, but then
But
again,
I've also had periods in my life where I didn't have a lot of money and I was still okay because I don't need a lot of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. The plan now is because I'm working on my first real body of work. I think.
Oh, cool.
7 paintings that I started like this year, and I would like to try and show them somewhere here in Sweden, but I have to look into that more once I'm done with the last painting.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'm just going to keep painting because I have a bunch of ideas and maybe do more online art shows and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a good...
Trying to push it a little bit more.
That's a good way. If you can establish a record of sales and your work is good, then you could get shows in the States too, if a gallery sees that you're selling and you're popular, it's just a no-brainer, especially if you're doing you do a lot of small work too, right?
Yeah, but I'm trying to do a little bit bigger now.
Mm-hmm.
You see the painting back here. It's like half a meter tall. It's like,
okay.
It's the biggest painting I've done so far. It's not super big, but yeah, I like to paint this small.
Do you like?
So it's easy to sell.
Yeah. That's the thing about small paintings. Easy to sell, easy to ship.
Yeah. But I love to see a big painting as well.
I know.
I'm trying to push myself in that direction to just learn it, because it is a big difference from painting small to paint big. Both have very different limitations and problems you have to solve. So
yeah, it's a weird thing too, because seeing a big painting in a gallery is kind of amazing. You can't really get that feeling any other way. It's like it's just kind of takes you back. But there's something to be said about tiny paintings that are really detailed and amazing. I've seen some incredible like miniature paintings that are just like, it's almost giving you the same feeling in a different way, rather than this. It's like, wow, how could someone do something that small so detailed? Yeah,
I've heard. I have comments like, how can you paint so small without going blind? Because you have to be this close sometimes with like a 2-haired brush, and it's like nobody's gonna see this little detail, but it has to be there.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's like you see a big painting, it's a wow moment, and the small ones equally so, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think small art is practical for so many reasons. It's just more practical. Easier to sell, easier to ship, and also easier to collect. Because I've lost sales because the collector's like, I don't have any more wall space. But everybody's got, this much wall space if you really love a painting.
Exactly.
So it's a lot more practical. But man, let me tell you, I did a bunch of paintings like a while back, like this size,
Oh yeah, like art collecting, the card collector size.
Yeah. And you know, it's hard. It is hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
Coming from that, I'm like, I've been, when I do paint big, it's just like, oh man, this feels so good. It just feels like I have space. It feels like you have space around you.
Yeah.
So I do kind of enjoy painting big.
But I think the size of the one that you have on your easel,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a good size. I like that as well.
Yeah, this is 8x10, which is still pretty small.
Yeah.
Pretty small for me.
It's still small, but it's not like super small.
Yeah. I was doing 5x7 studies, which is like I don't know, like this size. That was my standard study size, and because they're small, affordable, and I have a sculpted frame that fits it. Like I made a frame for it, so I could sell them. I could sell the frame. They look really nice. And then I had an 8x10 version of that frame made. So now I'm doing these 8x10 studies. So they're a little more expensive, but I can frame them myself, and it feels a little more, I don't know, like I have a little more space. But this one's going to be like 24 by 36 inches, like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's going to be pretty big.
Yeah. And if you can sell both, that's just double profit.
Yeah. And some people, a lot of people can't afford whatever, $5,000-$6,000 or whatever a big painting would be, but they could maybe do 1,200 or 1,250 or whatever these are going to be. Oh, and then I got some of these 11 by 14 studies for the bigger paintings, because these ones are going to be, this one's going to be 30 by 40, I think. So I'm doing like.
So when you do the studies, do you just shrink the big painting measurements like to 2/3 or like half or?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not that.
Just so you get the right dimensions for the real painting.
Yeah, the basic ratio. The basic. What do you call it? The aspect ratio. It's like close, but it's not exact. Otherwise, I'd have to be cutting panels. I could shrink it down. And also, I'm getting an 11 by 14 frame, sculpted frame made too. So it matches.
Okay.
And I could just frame these myself. So it's like they're in the ballpark. But I'm not super strict about it, because they're really more like, I figure out my stuff in Photoshop now. That's what I've been doing lately. I'll kind of work out the bugs, and then I'll do a study. And when I go to the study, I'm more like figuring out my colors. So it's not so much to like figure out how to fill the space, because I've already done that in a Photoshop comp. It's more like, okay, so how am I going to paint this? How many layers am I going to use? What colors am I going to use? And stuff like that,
Yeah.
So.
I think it was because of you that I actually started doing paint studies before bigger paintings. I didn't do that before.
Oh, cool. It's helpful, I think. I mean, I've noticed
really helpful.
It makes
So I do like very simple sketches in a sketchbook, then paint study in a bigger sketchbook, and then I'll do the big painting. And then I've already figured everything out, like colors and shapes and whatnot.
Yeah, and it makes the big painting go faster and less.
Yeah,
I don't know, less screwing around with it, And especially if you're on a time crunch, like I got to start painting these paintings, and I haven't even started yet. My show's in October, and I'm just like. But
seems like that's the way you work every time.
I know, but it's just because I have to stop everything and make money every month, so it just keeps getting in the way.
Right, yeah.
I was gonna spend 6 months painting these things, and now it's like I'm under 3. But the thing is, I'm gonna have it so worked out from the studies that I'm gonna crank through these things very fast, because there's going to be no second guessing. It's like everything's right there. match my colors. I've been writing my colors down and stuff as I've been doing them. So I'm like super technical, but they'll go fast. So hopefully.
Do you usually start with the bigger paintings when you do a show?
What do you mean?
Or do you start with the smaller ones? When you do the big final painting
Mm-hmm.
in a series of like the body of work that you're showing, do you start with the biggest one or the smallest one?
That's a good question. Like I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure. I'm someone that I like to like get things out of the way, so I'm thinking maybe I'll feel like I'm making some progress if I have some done. And I have a few 11 by 14s, like this size for the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, if I get like all the small ones out of the way, then I'll feel like I've accomplished something and I won't feel so stressed about the bigger paintings. But then I'm putting my bigger, more showpieces towards the end, closer to the deadline, which is maybe going to be more stressful. So I'm not sure. That's the answer is I don't know.
You just go by feel.
Yeah. I don't have one way of doing it, but I mean, I don't even have all the panels cut. I still have to like gesso panels and cut them. I have some. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, but yeah,
we'll have to dry at the show then, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
Don't touch the painting; it still works.
I remember I had a show in Berlin, and I was, rushing to get them done, and I had brought paint with me, and there's a picture of me somewhere painting on the painting in the gallery, framed, hung on the wall.
Like 10 minutes before the show starts.
Yeah, which is so ridiculous, but you do what you gotta do. Well,
yeah.
I guess we're at the end. I've been keeping the shows to around an hour and a half these days, so
yeah, it's a good time limit.
Yeah. Did you feel better after 5 minutes, like everyone says?
Yeah, it didn't feel like an hour and a half. It felt like half an hour, perhaps.
Okay.
I totally forgot the nervousness.
Good.
Like
See, I told you. It's weird.
I think because we're talking about art and other interesting things,
right? Yeah,
that's why it's just easy.
Yeah, it's stuff that these conversations are like stuff that we talk about, artists talk about when they see each other at art shows or go to lunch, or it's like the same stuff that we're talking about, except for the even the background stuff, because you're asking your friends how you got into this and all that. But yeah, your stuff's awesome.
But I think that part is.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that part is interesting to hear other artists' background and
yeah
how they came to where they are now.
Yeah. No, that seems to be people are really interested in that, and artist backgrounds, and also technical stuff too. And I don't know. I get people comment a lot. Like, I feel like I catch myself saying something in the conversation, like I feel like I'm in the room with a couple other artists, and they want to contribute to the conversation.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. But anyway, I was gonna say your stuff's awesome. Where can people? One real quick before we go, I wanted to ask you how your Twitch experience was, because that's one. It's like I started an account, and I'm not a gamer. I could be a gamer because I was playing games in the 70s. I was playing Pong when it first came out, when I was little at the pizza place. I played games with my kids all growing up. I played games up until probably the 90s. So, but I feel like I don't do it now, other than one VR game on the Oculus that I love, and I play that. But I can't afford the time, so I don't play them anymore. Although I'd love to.
I don't play much these days either. I rather paint. I play sometimes short games, like where you can play a short run for 30 minutes, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, that's how this game I play on the Oculus is. It's like a 20-minute game.
Yeah. That's enough.
But so anyway, that and the Twitch is like a real kind of gamer platform for streaming gameplay and stuff mostly, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
I set up an account there and I never really did anything with it. And so I'm wondering, I'm posting my stuff on YouTube, but I don't know. What's your Twitch experience been as far as being an artist on Twitch?
Well, when I was doing it, the creative section of Twitch had like ballooned up, and there was a lot of people streaming, and you have had a few of those people in the podcast, like Jamie Welsh and
Right,
Welsh,
Jamie Wells, and
Wells and Scott, Mr. Creep is his name.
Yeah,
I don't know his name. Yeah,
there's been a few.
So yeah, but at that point it was really fun, and you got a lot of views and support. But then it sort of died out, and I haven't done it in years on a regular basis. I do it every now and then just to try it out, but I don't know. Nowadays, I want to be in my own bubble when I paint. Back then, I wanted the company and then just show it in that way. But
that's the hard.
I'm more focused on the actual art now.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about streaming, live streaming, because I've done live painting events, which is kind of cool. It's good to do that because it's hard to do. It's like it's good to, I think it's uncomfortable. People paint, at tattoo shows, people watching you while you paint live, and you could screw up at any moment. But part of doing that is like closing yourself off and just focusing. It kind of forces you to really focus on what you're doing, which is kind of cool. But, the live streaming thing is more like you're conversing with people and you're reading comments, and it's so hard to get into a painting when people are asking questions and even though I'm happy to answer questions from people, but it takes you out of your like that weird zone you have to get in to paint, I want to just be like cut off from the rest of the world and have a movie on or music or whatever and just nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. At least, I enjoyed it back then, but now not so much. I just want to paint for myself. Sometimes I do live streams on Instagram, but they are very short.
Okay, yeah.
And it's usually when, like, if I do the underpainting, which is kind of simple to do, I don't have to think so much about it, then I can do it on a live stream.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way. People, tend to like short form content anyway. Now, which is not good, but
which is sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. That's why I like your YouTube videos, because they're like they take their time and you can see what you're doing. They're not like super fast 30-second clips.
That's the kind of videos I enjoy watching myself. So I'm trying to do like, what would I like to see? This kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's probably the best.
There's still an audience for it. It's smaller than before, but it's there.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So tell people who don't want to read the show notes where they can find your artwork.
Well, I have my online shop, which is albertfisk.com. And then Albert Fisk that's the only handle I use everywhere, because nobody ever uses it. So don't steal it. It's mine.
Okay.
So that's on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, if you want to join me there, even though I'm not streaming.
Yeah.
And then on Patreon as well.
Right.
Recently started that.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Also Albert Fisk. Yeah.
Excellent.
Patreon.com.
So, yeah, I'll put links to everything in the description of this show notes, whatever they call them. And so thanks for coming on. It was great talking to you and getting to know you. And I appreciate your work. I'm always looking forward to what new, weird, cute monsters you're going to make. So,
yeah. I really appreciate having me on here. It's really fun. And I've been a fan of your work, even before I knew who you were, because I saw your stuff in tool videos on MTV, and I didn't realize it was your stuff.
Cool.
And then I found you later, your paintings. Like, oh, there's amazing painters or amazing painter. And I didn't know that you worked with tools. I like both very much separately. And then I realized, oh, wait, they know each other.
That's so cool.
That was really weird. Yeah. So it's an honor to be here. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking the time. And everybody check out Albert Fisk's work. The very last thing is you have to say goodbye to the audience in some way that you want to say goodbye. So go ahead.
All right. I'll say it in Swedish.
Okay.
Hej då.
All right. Thanks, everybody.